All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan from the Manufacturers Network podcast, and I'm excited today to introduce you to Steve Pacilio. Steve has worked for the Liftall Company for 23 years, starting as assistant plant manager in 1997, and has worked his way up to president in 2017. Liftall manufactures lifting and load securement products, employing over 250 people in 5 manufacturing plants across the USA. Manufacturing products with capabilities of up to 1 million pounds, quality, customer service, and safety are paramount. Steve says, with the current challenging business climate, my focus has been on our company's biggest asset, our employees. Welcome to the show, Steve. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. I appreciate it.
I know that you've been with Liftall for a long time, but if you could share with us a little bit about your journey, about what brought you to Liftall in the first place and what got you to where you are today.
Well, basically, I went to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Illinois, and got an operations management degree. And then I worked for a number of companies after that, and I was in a materials management role. And the company that I was working for, I was just kind of feeling bored, and I wanted to have a challenge. And so I looked and I ended up finding Liftall, and it's been a great challenge, I'll tell you that much. And like you said, I started out as assistant plant manager. I love manufacturing. I learned about slings, about the whole industry, how to make the products. But I also learned about the people, and that's probably my biggest personal journey is learning how to manage people and work with people to be able to achieve the goals that we had set. And so basically just worked hard and worked my way up through the company and was elected president 3 years ago, 2017.
So, and that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is that commitment to people, because particularly since everybody's competing for the same people right now, even in these times of real high unemployment, it's so important to keep the people that you have, the good people that you have, so they don't go down the street for 50 cents or $1 more an hour. So what are some of the things that you feel that you're doing well as far as creating those connections with your employees?
Well, I think some of this all starts from the top, which is me, and it has to do with communication and making sure that the employees understand where the company is going, how they're doing, and that sort of thing. There's nothing worse, I think, than being on the plant floor and not realizing, well, how did the company do this month, or what's the focus here? Where are we going in the future? So, basically, I have staff meeting every month, and I write notes from the staff meeting, and they then roll out through the plant managers to the hourly people, and they discuss certain areas that's appropriate for information that they should know. And I think that's really helpful when you walk into the plant to say hello. Things like working hard with our HR department to have a very good wellness program. We have an unbelievable wellness program that basically we started, could be 12, 14 years ago. And at that point, there was many people that didn't even have a primary healthcare provider. People on the plant that as well, when I get sick, I go to the emergency room. Well, that's not good for traceability, for understanding if there is a problem or a health issue. Also, it's very expensive for the company. So we developed through our HR department a wellness program. And basically now we have the majority of our people now have healthcare providers. They can earn up to $1,400 in credits for next year by going through and doing the biometric testing and seeing their doctor for a physical once a year, and doing the other things that are needed, the preventative testing and stuff. So Wow. That's been really good, and it's to show our employees, hey, this is good for you. It's also good for the company, and you're not sick as much, or hopefully we can prevent a catastrophic illness. So I think that's been huge for us.
Yeah. People who are listening to this, they might say, oh, we've tried wellness programs. Our people don't buy into it. They don't do it. We invest all this money. We try health fairs and nothing happens. And I'm sure you probably had some people fighting you at the beginning. So share a little bit about that process and what it took to finally get people's eyes to say, oh, this is what I'm doing, and to change the habit from just going to the emergency room to actually focusing on their wellness.
Well, again, I think there was a lot of communication and a lot of leadership by our HR department, but also the plant managers and assistant plant managers. They had to find who in their plant were the change agents. It could be a group leader. It could be an hourly employee, and you get them on board and you start talking about it. And they have meetings, and they have their plant meetings, and they talk about the wellness. Slowly but surely, you get a few more people on, and you get a few more people on. And again, it's been a journey. It's not that it's happened in 1 year. It's been years, but again, I think that we have great response. And because of this, we've been able to keep our healthcare costs relatively level during this time. And that's huge. That's money in their pocket. And of course, that helps us financially as well as a company. But it really comes down to leadership, I think, and communication with the employees.
And so during the meetings with the communication, what exactly are you sharing with your employees? Is it just the production numbers? Are you looking at what they're doing individually? How are you, because obviously communication is working, so any of the specifics of that might be helpful.
So when the plant managers plant meetings, they'll talk about their efficiencies and how they're doing. They'll talk about safety. They'll talk about safety in the plant. They'll talk about safety in manufacturing the product. They sometimes even talk about safety of our products, because we want our employees to understand that when you're making a lifting product, that somebody's life is underneath that product. So we want to make sure that the quality is there. The product is engineered. We've done all the work. We've done all the testing, but it's still up to individual hands and equipment to be able to make that product. So they need to be reminded, and we really stress that as well, is that you're making something that somebody who may have a family is walking underneath that, and we want to make sure that that doesn't fail. So there's a lot of topics that we talk about.
And I think that just letting your employees know how they're contributing to that greater mission of protecting not only themselves in the workplace, because obviously that's expected, but seeing the end result of this is a product that's going to make sure that, those workers who are using it on the other end can safely go home to their family. So really it sounds like you've done a good job building that into your culture over there.
Right. And our safety manager, we're talking about safety in the plants. He started this last year, basically having an OSHA fair. So as opposed to people just watching videos and saying, oh, here's lockout, tag out, or here's how to handle a fire extinguisher, he tries to make it fun and had some kind of games and some multiple choice things, and had teams, and the teams were competing. So the people would try to at least understand and retain the knowledge. And therefore, then he would walk through the plant and ask them some questions just later on to make sure that they tried to retain it. So we're looking at different ways to engage our employees, because from what I learned from 23 years ago, the employee mentality 23 years ago is much different than the employee mentality now. You've got the millennials and everything, and it's a totally different way of managing those types of individuals, I feel.
Yeah. And that continuous education, because usually you do not hear OSHA and fun in the same sentence.
No, that's true.
So
That's right.
Making it less scary is certainly, I like the idea of the plant managers then going and asking questions to their employees afterwards, because then they know, oh, I better pay attention in case Bob decides to ask me something about it.
Yeah, and those types of questions isn't just, does that person know it? It's for the manager to understand, did they retain the knowledge? It's a bad thing. If they don't know, I don't know. Okay. You don't reprimand them, but
Sure.
Basically you put that in your memory bank. Well, maybe we try a different tactic next time.
Sure. Well, and it's reinforcement. So it's good from both sides of that. So what are some of the things that are keeping you up at night right now?
Basically just trying to understand what the future is going to look like. We have information coming from so many different sources. It's very difficult to be able to plan the future. I mean, I've got tariffs from China, potential tariffs from other countries. Basically how that affects us is they're huge in the costing of our product, because we get a lot of raw materials from overseas. We have freight issues. I mean, right now you can't even get a container to come into the United States. The containers are in the wrong place around the world. So now containers back up. We're trying to satisfy the demand of our customers. Even when the containers come here, then there's no rigs to pull them, tractor trailers to pull them. Everything's evolving so quickly. It's hard to keep in front of it. And so those are some of the things that if I could just have a clear path, we can plan and we can work forward. So my plan for this next year has so many different, directions depending on what's going to happen. It gets mind-boggling at times.
Yeah, this is certainly an interesting place to be in history right now because we just don't know. And just when we think we know, it seems to change the next day.
Exactly. And then the information comes from different sources and it's different information. I mean, we know with the whole COVID information, we're trying to keep plants open. We have 5 plants in the United States. And so in Pennsylvania, the governor would give the word, are you closed? Are you open? Are you going to shut down? What's going to happen? But then again, in Houston, it was like the district judge in Harris County would say that. It wasn't even the governor. So different areas of the country were handling those communications differently. So if you had a lot of plans, a lot of areas of the country, it was track of all that information.
Well, when it comes to building up this network with other manufacturers, if you could find out or get hints or tips from your manufacturing colleagues, what kind of support or questions would you most like to learn from other of your manufacturing colleagues?
Yeah, I think it's just what other people are doing. I belong to a CEO group, manager owner group, a peer group, and we talk in some are in manufacturing, some are in service industries like a roofer, and one has an educational facility, another one is a lawn maintenance and pest control. When I first joined the group, I was like, boy, that's going to be kind of weird. How do they all, what do we have in common? But boy, when you have the conversations, we all have the same thing in common. We have to plan our businesses, we have to understand our costs, and we have to be able to communicate with our employees and manage our employees. So we all have the same problems. We all have the same issues. So it's interesting just to hear from others to find out how they're addressing them and take little bits and pieces that, may be appropriate for my situation and, my company.
And I think that's so important because sometimes we join our industry trade associations, but then we sometimes have blinders on and we just look at our own industry. When you have a roofer and pest control and all those other people in the same room, you'll probably find that there's something that roofer is doing that you wouldn't have even thought, hey, that's something that I can bring into my business. So keeping an open mind, finding out more, and connecting with other manufacturing colleagues really helps. What are some of the things that you feel that you could offer support on to your manufacturing colleagues? And when it comes to connecting with other colleagues, what are some of the things that you feel that you could offer support on?
Again, just my experiences. I mean, I've had different experiences than others, and I think it's just a matter of sharing some of those and just starting a conversation like you and I are having. And, maybe you'll say something and I'll just, I should think about doing that, or it gives me an idea. And I think it's just having the communication motivates the brain to think of different things and in different ways. And I like to say is I have an issue or a problem or plan, and I like to just turn it around and look at it from different areas in different ways. And having communication and contact with others, I think allows us to do that easier.
And if you could give one idea, one strategy for the people listening to use in their manufacturing facilities today, as far as creating that culture where people want to stay, what would be your best advice?
Well, I would just say communicate in multiple ways. During this whole COVID thing, I did a couple of short videos. We released them out to all the employees just to let them know how we're doing and what's going on. If I have the ability, if I'm in a plant, which I haven't really traveled, to be able to walk through that plant and say hello and just be there. Let them come up to you, make yourself available to have a conversation. This year, I hand wrote out 250 Christmas cards to every employee, a hand wrote Christmas card. I started in October. It took a long time, but I think that was much appreciated. I'm not traveling back and forth to work, so I thought, I'm going to do a few a day. And I think it was really good, and I received a lot of positive feedback that they're not forgotten just because I'm not in the plant or I'm not in the office. I'm working at home. It's not that I'm just got my feet up. I'm thinking about them, and I think that's important that they know that.
Well, Steve, I know that if we're building this network here, if people would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can connect through our Liftall website, www.lift-all.com, or you can contact me on my email, which is pacilio.sm@lift-all.com.
Well, Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network podcast. See you next time. Thanks for listening. Hey, do me a favor. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. Also, feel free to share the podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow the network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either go to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow this network, the stronger and deeper community we will have. I appreciate you. Thank you.